Al Udeid Air Base, America's largest hub in the Middle East, was never supposed to see this. Bright streaks lit up the night sky as interceptors clashed with incoming Iranian missiles. But despite high-tech Patriot batteries and THAAD defenses, some got through, rattling Doha civilians and igniting critical fuel reserves. In minutes, the region's balance of power shifted. The U.S. called its response Operation Iron Vengeance, and it moved faster than many realized possible. Stay with this story, because it escalates from warnings to warplanes in a matter of hours. Before we move on, I will like you to subscribe to the channel and like the video. How did one of the most heavily defended military installations on the planet still take hits? That question dominated conversations across the Gulf. The night Al Udeid's alarms screamed to life, Iran launched dozens of ballistic missiles in direct retaliation for American operations that targeted its nuclear program. And from the moment the first radar signatures appeared, the entire network of defenses came alive. Operators in darkened command posts tracked flight paths as screens filled with red icons. Patriot missile crews readied their canisters, THAAD systems locked onto higher altitude trajectories, and CRAM batteries prepared to intercept anything that slipped through. Within minutes, streaks of fire blasted upward, interceptors chasing targets in arcs across the night sky. The scene was ordered chaos, automated trackers calculating angles, while loudspeaker alerts sent troops sprinting toward hardened shelters. Yet for all its layered protection, the system did not achieve perfection. Each missile defense platform covers only certain ranges and angles, meaning the salvo's complexity strained the network. Iran knew this. By launching large numbers of missiles simultaneously, it forced American and Qatari operators to split priorities. High-altitude threats, demanding different interceptors than those descending in terminal dives. Patriot batteries destroyed many mid-flight, and THAAD scored successful kills against longer-range weapons. But when more than 30 rockets arrive in under 10 minutes, split-second assignments can overwhelm even a prepared base. A fraction broke through, and those few changed the night. Iran added another dimension by telegraphing its plans ahead of time. Through intermediaries, it passed word to U.S. and Qatari officials that an attack was imminent, emphasizing that major civilian centers were not intended targets. This advance warning aimed to avoid mass casualties, but limiting destruction does not remove it. Flames from struck fuel depots lit the runway apron. Thick smoke poured into the air, and hangars near the flight line caught. The concussive force rattled neighborhoods in Doha 20 miles away, shattering windows and jolting residents awake. Even with precautions, the strikes carried psychological weight far beyond the fences of the base. Information chaos followed almost instantly. One outlet broadcast unverified claims of dozens killed, while another insisted damage had been largely superficial. Soldiers inside hardened bunkers relayed anecdotes that clashed with official statements, feeding the uncertainty. What could be confirmed were burning structures visible across social media feeds, columns of fire brighter than any rumor. Confusion prevails in the first hours of conflict, but here it became part of the battlefield, with narratives competing just as fiercely as the missiles had minutes earlier. To understand how this happened, consider the principle of layered defense. The United States does not rely on a single missile shield, but instead deploys multiple systems stacked on top of one another. THAAD is designed to intercept at high altitude, destroying incoming warheads outside the atmosphere. Patriot batteries focus on shorter-range threats, closer to their terminal phase. CRAM functions as a last-resort rapid-fire weapon, spitting bursts of 20mm rounds to intercept what sneaks through. Individually, each system performs as expected during testing. The weakness lies in saturation. When numerous missiles are launched all at once, sensors and interceptors may run out of time or numbers before every target is neutralized. Mass salvos are not about accuracy. They are about volume, and Iran's planners leaned into that. Al Udeid survived the majority of the attack. More than 4 out of 5 incoming weapons were neutralized, an impressive feat by any measure. But that remaining fifth carried outsized consequences. A few successful hits demonstrated that even the most advanced base could not guarantee flawless security. Strategically, that altered the balance. Washington now faced a choice: treat the strike as limited theater or unleash force to re-establish deterrence. months. Having absorbed the first blow, the United States did not remain passive. Its response shifted in tone and scale, moving quickly from a night of defense into a campaign of direct retaliation. Could the United States dismantle a nuclear program the size of Iran's in just a few hours? That was the gamble behind Operation Iron Vengeance. It was not drawn up over months. It was triggered in the hours after missiles hit Al Udeid. The operation's purpose was clear from the start: to show that no strike on America's largest base would stand unanswered, and to demonstrate that the U.S. could reach into the heart of Iran's most sensitive facilities without hesitation. Iran had deliberately warned that it would retaliate again if its nuclear program was targeted. That warning was not ignored. Planners fully expected Tehran to launch another salvo if its enrichment sites came under fire. So in the Pentagon's war rooms and inside command centers across the Gulf, battle staffs linked together air, sea, space, and cyber assets into one synchronized assault. Every piece of equipment available was placed onto the board. Long-range bombers were prepared as backups. Strike fighters positioned in forward locations. Unmanned aircraft surged into Iranian airspace, and satellites already orbiting overhead began feeding real-time images of target zones across Natanz, Fordow, and smaller complexes scattered deeper inland. The weight of the strike came from both volume and precision. 15 F-15E Strike Eagles were loaded with precision-guided bombs designed to crater reinforced bunkers. 15 F-35 stealth jets carried penetrating munitions, using their low radar profiles to cross borders unseen and linger over targets longer than older aircraft. 60 Tomahawk cruise missiles launched from ships stationed in the Arabian Sea, each programmed along separate pre-planned routes to confuse radar operators scrambling to detect their approach. Electronic warfare aircraft, specifically Navy Growlers, pressed forward to shut down the radars, supporting Iran's surface-to-air missiles. Overhead, surveillance drones orbited silently, transmitting patterns of movement in Tehran's air defense batteries to analysts who adjusted flight paths in real time. The staged sequence was designed like a choreographed storm. First came the Tomahawks, rushing in from the water, hundreds of miles away, slamming toward radar sites and communications nodes. Minutes behind them flew electronic warfare planes, broadcasting intense signals to blind search radars, throwing Iran's network into momentary blackouts. That window opened just long enough for stealth aircraft to glide across the borders at low altitude, their signatures vanishing into background noise. F-35s dived into positions over Natanz, dropping deep penetrating weapons aimed at underground centrifuge halls. AF-15Es came in behind them, heavier and louder, but carrying more tonnage to pummel above-ground infrastructure and cut supply lines that supported the enrichment process. Natanz, with its sprawling underground centrifuge arrays, was at the top of the target sheet, followed closely by Fordow, hidden beneath a mountain. Analysts argued that disabling those sites, even temporarily, could prevent advanced centrifuges from reaching peak production capacity again for years. After those primary objectives, longer-range strikes targeted smaller reactors and storage depots across Esfahan and Iraq, extending the message that no strategic facility was immune. As much as the munitions fell, the battle was also fought through perception. Iranian broadcasters framed the strikes as symbolic, stressing resilience and announcing that work on the program would continue without pause. At the same time, independent reports online claimed catastrophic losses inside the facilities, some speculating that the attacks rolled the nuclear timeline back by as much as 15 years. Mainstream channels, however, offered far less certainty, stating the damage could not yet be assessed, and warning that propaganda was already distorting the reality. The truth was fogged by this competing stream of messaging, and both sides used that haze to their advantage. The night began with streaks of missiles over Qatar, but it ended with the United States proving it could project devastating force within hours. Al Udeid's defenses absorbed much of the strike, yet Operation Iron Vengeance showed Washington would not stay on the defensive. This clash was never just about aircraft shelters or fuel depots. It put deterrence itself to the test, strained alliances, and shook the stability of the Gulf at its core. The real question now is yours. Did this retaliation restore balance, or did it push the region closer to a wider war? Share your view below.